Hi, this is Dr. Franklin Allaire from the University of Houston downtown. In this video, we're going to continue exploring Domain C, the life sciences, by getting into Module 7, which covers Science Teaching Competencies 13 and 14. Before we get started, spoiler alert, please make sure that you filled out the first two columns of your KWL 2.0 chart and have answered the discussion prompts. If you haven't, please pause this video and take about 7 to 10 minutes to write down and share what you already know and what you want to learn about competencies 13 and 14. Competency number 13 says the teacher understands adaptations of organisms and the theory of evolution. And competency 14 says the teacher understands the relationships between organisms and the environment. As we've seen throughout this series, there's a lot wrapped up in both of these competencies. For this reason, they've been broken down into multiple sub-competencies. The sub-competencies for Science Teaching Competency 13 says the beginning teacher demonstrates knowledge of adaptive characteristics and explains how adaptations influence the survival of populations or species, describes how populations and species change through time, and describes processes that enable traits to change through time, including selective breeding, mutation, and other natural occurrences. The sub-competencies for Science Teaching Competency 14 read, the beginning teacher understands that organisms respond to internal or external stimuli and analyzes the role of internal and external stimuli in the behavior of organisms, understands relationships between organisms and the environment, and describes ways that living organisms depend on each other and on the environment to meet their basic needs, identifies organisms, populations, or species with similar needs and analyzes how they compete with one another for resources, analyzes the interrelationships and interdependence among producers, consumers, and decomposers in an ecosystem, such as food webs, food chains, competition, and predation, identifies factors that influence the size and growth of populations in an ecosystem, analyzes adaptive characteristics that result in a population's or species' unique niche in an ecosystem, and knows how populations and species modify and affect ecosystems. Now that we've learned about the competencies and sub-competencies covered in this module, it's time to dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics. In the Explore section, you'll be watching some videos that cover various topics contained within the competencies. In the Explore section of this module, there are 12 videos that cover various topics related to exploring adaptations in evolution and exploring organisms and the environment. Video topics in this module include adaptive characteristics of organisms, natural and artificial selection, ecological relationships, food chains, and food webs. As you make your way through this module, we'd like you to keep in mind the following guiding questions. How can elementary teachers integrate age-appropriate content and hands-on activities to convey the concepts of adaptations and the theory of evolution, fostering a foundational understanding among young learners? In what ways can teachers create a classroom environment that encourages open-minded inquiry, critical thinking, and respectful discussions about adaptations and the theory of evolution, considering the diverse backgrounds and beliefs of their elementary students? And how do elementary teachers incorporate technology and multimedia resources to enhance students' understanding of adaptations and evolution, aligning with the diverse learning preferences of today's digitally literate young learners? And we'd also like you to keep in mind the following questions related to Competency 14. In what ways can teachers design interdisciplinary lessons that explore the connections between organisms and their environment, integrating concepts from science, geography, and even literature to provide a holistic understanding for elementary students? What responsibility does an elementary educator have to tailor their instruction to emphasize the importance of biodiversity and the delicate balance within ecosystems, instilling a sense of environmental stewardship in elementary students? And how do elementary teachers address the challenges of teaching about relationships between organisms and the environment, considering the diverse backgrounds and prior knowledge of their students? To help you fully engage in the videos, I strongly recommend downloading the guided note-taking documents. I also recommend having a notebook handy, so that way you can take notes about anything that's covered in any of the videos and to write down some questions that you may still have after watching the videos.